thought about all of these things that our people have been through and all of these things that our history has there for us that I didn't know about. Mm-hmm. So I took another course and another course and another course. And toward my senior year, my advisor calls me in. I thought I was in trouble. He called me and he says, you know you have enough study to gain a minor in African American study. I didn't start out to get that minor. I just became a voracious studier of our people and what had happened to us from the time we got here till then. My only thing was I ran out of time in college. Otherwise, I would have majored in African American study, you know, because I was majored in business and some other things too. But it's just the fact that with you guys, it doesn't stop here. The fact that you're in this movie is going to make you want to learn more and more and more. You won't be able to stop. Once you pick up a book and understand what your characters were, I think Ms. Mamie said, understand the character that you're playing. And it's a whole rich history behind each one of those characters. There's a whole rich history behind the family that's involved in this movie, you know, and on and on and on, because that's going to take you. It's going to take your kids, and it's going to take your kids to the next level, because they're going to want to know.
Miss Ruby was telling me that she said that, well, you can tell them better than me, but she was telling me how she was locked up, and your brother was locked up below you.
Oh, that's when we went to Highlander.
Yes. They were incarcerated, and
it was really the only time we were in jail. We were in '63 for the demonstration. We were already in Cincinnati because our mother had insisted to my father that we need to go because he couldn't afford to keep Patty and Spelman. I was supposed to go the next year, my brother, and we were offered a church, and he was offered a church, Revelation. And my mother insisted we go. But anyway, we had gone to Highlander when I was 14. It was an experiment to see if children from all over the country, black and white, could live together. It was the first time I ever met an atheist. But we were at this place where Mr. Ewell would allow black people and white people to sit down. He was called a communist. The camp has been moved several times. But anyway, on our way back from Mount Eagle, Tennessee, we sat on the front of a bus. By the time we got to Gadsden, Alabama, the police came on and said, get up and get to the back of the bus. We said, no, this is an interstate bus. We don't have to. Well, we were arrested. In being arrested, we had been at the camp. I was hoarse, and they were asking me questions, and I didn't have a lot of voice, and the police officer went to grab me, and my brother went to grab him. And the police officer got his bully stick and pushed that thing that you guys have. What do you call it? I can't.
Adam's apple.
Adam's apple. Pushed his Adam's apple in, and then he released him. But anyway, they put my sister and I in a cell for women, and they put my brother in a cell right below us in the women's section. And he sang to us all night to let us know, sang the songs from the camp, that he was okay. We got a lot of things we learned. I learned about, we did a Ataclara Cluti, we did operas. I learned so much that I hadn't learned in a southern school. Learned how to swim. It was wonderful. The women of the movement that had helped was at that camp because they wanted to make this experiment work. It was for 6 weeks. But going home, we were arrested. When they called my father, at every stop sign, they gave him a ticket coming into the city. And he subsequently lost his license for 2 years. The people I met downstairs are Mr. Dwight Bush. He's with the bridge thing tournament that they're having. He was one of the people in Gadsden that put up their homes to get us out of jail that night. And we got back, we were declared delinquents, and we were all excellent students. So it was just another negative thing on it. But what I'm saying about that whole incident You don't have to have been arrested. You don't have to have been to jail. You just need to know your history. And what can I, as a 13, 15, 21-year-old, 77-year-old do? I can speak the truth. I can tell what I know. And I can insist that the truth be told to me. Mm-hmm. Now, how do I insist that? I check it out. You got Google, you got Wikipedia. I've already identified 3 things on Wikipedia that I have said this is not true about my family. Mm-hmm. I know about my family. Mm-hmm. So you need to check out what people are saying. Mm-hmm. In other words, if you can't show what you don't know, make sure you know so you can show and tell and inspire. Because a lot of people are not blessed to have known Mr. Sagoes, to have known this gentleman, to have known you, to have known you. We have to be an instrument of his peace by being an example and helping other people want to know their history so we can improve it. And right now we know that the black man is on the bottom in the United States. Right. People come from all over the world and they are moved forward by our government because it's an effort to keep us down. But we must raise children that will be proud to be an American. I was born in this country. My ancestors were in Africa, and I'm very proud of that. But I don't want to go back to Africa. I don't know anybody there. My people are here. But we want to make this place better. And that's why I thank him so much for making this film. Because it's been many years, 60 years, but nobody knows that story. And they should. But they should also know other stories that only we can tell. I told the children at the museum, and I always tell children when I speak, when you visit your grandparents, go with a notebook. Yes. Right. And listen. Just let them talk. Yes. They will talk. They will tell you because they want you to be safe. They want you to know. History is still here, and we are not gone. This lady is in her 80s. I'm in my 70s. I'm interviewing a lady who's a grandmother of a secretary who is 94. I'm not interviewing her because I'm not there, but I paid somebody to go interview her because she needs to be interviewed. Many people are telling our stories, and they don't know.
And they don't look like us.
And they've never walked in our shoes.
That's right.
Like I said, Andrew Mannix told my daddy's story. And for years I couldn't read the book. But then I had to realize as an adult, this is a white man who read a book dictated by a black man, but he still told it in his vernacular. And I dearly love Andrew Mannix today because I grew to realize that. And I read the book. I started reading the book again because he chronologized. Daddy said everything that happened. So when I write my book, I know the order. Get knowledge for yourself, but consider your sources always.
Y'all keep talking. I gotta go move my car. They told me.
I just want to make a comment about what you said, and that is you young men. I'm Linda.
You want to talk to her?
Linda, yes. How you doing? It's nice to meet you too. You young men need to tell your story.
Yes.
Yeah, and the reason I'm gonna say that is because y'all the TikTok nation, and so people can only retain a small amount. Yeah. And you have the ability and you have the authority because to tell your story in such a way that people will listen to you. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I have a nephew who was murdered in February by the Minneapolis police. And many of you probably have seen him. It's Amir Locke. And he was at home and he was sleeping at his cousin's house, and they came in and they shot him within seconds. And the interesting thing that I'm learning during this process is the story that always gets told is at the narrative of the cop. And it's their story. And so we're going to snatch it back. And so what we're learning is we tell the story. They tell it, and then we tell the truth. Because we understand the truth. We have videos, we have everything. They gave us all the video, the cam footage from the police because we demanded it. But when they gave it to his parents, it was encrypted and they couldn't even watch it. But Andrew was able to unencrypt it and then show them so we could see it. And here it is, cops that were saying after they shot my nephew and then realized they shot the wrong one, and they did all these searches and tried to find really dirt on him and couldn't find anything. They tried to equate him to a cousin that had a bad rap and said that's the reason why the cops came in the first place, and that's the reason why they killed him. And he was a law-abiding citizen, didn't have anything on his record. He was 22 years old, and he was licensed to carry. And when they broke in, because when you do a no-knock, that's a break-in and entry.
Yes.
So when they broke into the home, he grabbed his pistol, which anybody, any law-abiding citizen would do if you don't know who's coming into your home.
Yes.
And he grabbed it, and then they shot him. And they say they shot him 3 times, but it was 10 bullets. There was bullets in the ceiling. There was bullets in the wall. There was holes everywhere. But what I'm gonna tell you is, don't accept the story that you hear. Like she is saying, like Ruby is saying, investigate, because we refuse. And I remember all the calls I kept getting, and they were saying, "Oh, they're saying this about your nephew. They saying this," and I would always say to my family, "Well, what do you believe?" Because I know my nephew, and he would never pull a gun on the cop. So I need to understand what's going on here. And so you young men, they're coming after y'all. You need to understand when she talks about this, society is coming after y'all because what do? You produce other young black people. And if I take you out, I can annihilate an entire race.
Yes.
So you really need to pay attention what is going on in America. Protect yourselves, but we snatch back. When they say they fear for their life, we was like, but he was under the covers. He's the one who feared for his life. And I remember in one of the tapes, one of the officers congratulated the other officer for a job well done in shooting him. But they would never say that. The first thing they did was try to show my nephew's gun. That's the first thing they put on the cameras, and that's the first thing. Until we forced the news, I said, as long as we live in, y'all will tell the truth, because we will demand it. And so then they start investigating. Then they found out the cops had all these infractions. They found out one of the cops that was involved was Ray. He was in because this was in Minneapolis. So when they had all those riots with George Floyd, he was one of the cops that was actually throwing stuff, but he was undercover. And a young man shot at him because they thought that he was a white supremacist, and the brother got off because he didn't identify himself as a cop. So I'm just saying to you guys, protect yourselves and use your platform to tell your story. Because I remember when we saw the movie with the sisters with Taraji P and all of the sisters that helped get the first man on the moon. Before that movie came out, how many of y'all knew? Hidden Figures. Before that movie came out, how many of y'all knew that there was black people, black women that was involved in the numbers? So when they teach us, to your point, when they teach us about history, if you're studying math, know that there was black mathematicians.
Yes, right.
If you're studying science, know about the scientists. The fact that we have lights, those were black people.
Yes.
They just didn't have the capital or the money to do it. So they slave master do what they do best, and they stole it, and then they put it out there.
Yes.
And truth of the matter is, your movie can, yesterday is today, they're still stealing. They steal all your capital, all your talents. So I just say something, you're like, but why didn't this happen? Or why did you do this? Because the first thing, I remember when the first thing they said is my nephew, they tried to help him. But when the video came out, they jumped on him after they shot him, and then they handcuffed him. So that story is contradictory with what your chief of police said. So we have the ability to challenge. They think that we're ignorant, but we're not. So you guys stand your ground. Protect yourselves and get your word out there. Don't let anybody talk about how black men are this and black men are that, and they can't achieve, and you're all thugs. Put out the flip to that and use your platform, and just do it in bite size.
And don't give them an opportunity to stop you.
Right.
They're lost. Loud music, we don't need that. Messing up your thing, drooping.
No
All
sags.
the men in the civil rights movement, they were in suits. Let's show them, let's give them something good to talk about. They will listen to you, because after this movie, you're going to be stars.
Yeah.
So give them something good. Give them a platform so that others will join. Everybody wants to be disciplined, but they want the right person to discipline them with love. The best children I know were disciplined by parents who loved them enough to punish them when they did wrong. We're not out to punish, we're out to educate.
That's biblical.
And you're gonna be given a platform by having been in this movie that people will want to hear from you. And if you ain't sure, call me. Call him. Call him. They know. Because if you're walking around making noise, there was a kid in Georgia killed because he was too much noise. And they wasn't by a policeman. A man just went up and shot him. Do what is required. Your music don't need to be loud. Your cell phones don't need to be heard. But if you got in a problem, turn your cell phone off. So you can hear, somebody can hear what is going on. I always tell my grandson, if police pull you over, turn your cell phone off before they stop you. We can do better, but you got to learn from the elders how we got over, because it was real bad back then. We haven't told you all the horrific things that have happened, because we ain't got time. We really don't. So many things. This young man is much younger than we are. But bad things happen. We had to go to outhouses, okay? You know what an outhouse is? I rest my case.
One of the things I try to speak to youth about is that being black in America means you're gonna end up in some situations. You just will. There's just no getting around it. What you have to do is be smart about the situations that you're in. It's like I was telling my grandson, if you feel that you're being treated unjustly, you can't adjudicate that issue on the side of the road in the dark with a cop, okay? Do what you gotta do to come home safely, and then let us take on that fight for you. But anything that happens on the side of the road, or you get out of the car or whatever, all of a sudden body cams have a way of getting turned off.
Yes.
Okay, things that you think that being in America, you should have these civil rights. They just have a way of disappearing at that time. I think.
Or the sound is gone.
I think, and then when they get into court, I think the term is police can test a lie. Okay, they don't testify.
They test the lie.
They just say whatever it is that sounds good to keep them out of trouble.
We fear for our life.
So we have to make sure that we're smart enough to make sure that, that fight can be picked up by us and move to the next level. Now, I got a request, though, before I get out of here. Is in my office, I have, I like to call it my wall of fame. And my request is that I take a picture and hang it on my wall with each one of these historians and you brothers, because I got a spot all set for you. As soon as tomorrow, I have my camera, and that's what I do is I make sure that, and I want to be able to point to that picture on my wall and tell your story. The right story, because the story came from you, not from somebody else. So if you grant me that favor tomorrow, I will have my camera with me, and I want to take a picture of you.
Definitely.
And everybody in this room.
And we are honored.
Thank you. I mean, my wall is, I have a congressman, I have John Lewis on my wall, I have Julian Bond on my wall, I have George Duke on my wall. So I'm honored to put you all on my wall too.
I remember, in Birmingham, all the Jim Crow laws they had going on in Birmingham, where black people couldn't do this, they couldn't do that, they couldn't go to this place, even going to the restroom, they had colored signs. You couldn't go down. We had to go up downstairs to the restroom, and they had signs up there colored white upstairs. Even if you ordered food, you had to order food upstairs, walk down the steps to get your food. And like you said, doing things in the dark, even if you went in some grocery stores and you didn't get a bag they didn't put your stuff in the bag and didn't give you a receipt. The police standing on the side of the store waiting for you to come out. And when you come out, hey boy, where's your receipt?
Right.
You can't show them no receipt. Why your stuff ain't in no bag? You open the car door, you get in. Because you done stole the stuff. You can't prove it. And those are some of the things that was happening in Birmingham. Even, by like riding the bus, trying to get on the bus. You can go in the front door, put your money in the coin machine. Go, and he tells you have to step off, go to the back door. Sometimes the bus driver would drive off and leave you standing there. And we caught hell in Birmingham. Jim Crow laws, all kind of stuff until Dr. King came through. We couldn't, a whole lot of stuff we couldn't do. Couldn't walk. If I was walking down the street and a white person was coming up the street, I had to step off the sidewalk and let them pass by. You couldn't look the white people in the eye, And everywhere I went, I took my weapon with me. And my weapon was a pencil and a piece of paper. So if they do anything to me, I have something to write on. And I tell the young people the same identical thing. Keep your pencil and a piece of paper so you can write down the tag numbers and anything that happens. When I went to jail, before I went to jail, 16th Street Baptist Church, we was going to the mass meetings. Dr. King was up speaking. He told us, we don't have no money to get you out of jail. But if you're willing to go, we'll send up to some of the stars up north, and they will send some money down here to help you get out if you're willing to go to jail. But you got to write your name on sheets of paper they passed out. I think I wrote mine on about 5 or 6 to make sure I got out. And whatever, I said I'm willing to stay in here 5 or 6 days. I wrote my name down. So we didn't get arrested that day. The next day I went back. I didn't get enough. I went back to 16th Street Baptist Church. So Dr. King talked to us. Say, if you don't have any, I'm going to send y'all to Bohemian Bakery to go there. If you don't have any money, make sure you have some money to pay for it. We know they was not going to serve us when we went in. So he said, grab anything on the counter. You see sandwiches, cakes, anything. So we walked in. It was about 15 of us. Walked in and grabbed sandwiches and stuff off the counter. And the guard say, we don't serve niggas in here. I said, we don't eat them. And he stood there. They closed the store down and called a paddy wagon. They took us to jail. I stayed in jail 6 days, and that was the horriblest thing of my life. The police officers, the inmates had to eat first. Then they tell us to come up and get our food. We went up to get our food. The correction officer, he stands on top of the table. Y'all don't eat nothing in here. Y'all don't eat no niggas don't eat nothing in this jail. Go back to your cell. So we was called demonstrators. And people that commit confusion. So we had to go back into our cells and didn't have anything to eat. Just sit there and didn't have anything to eat. So
for
the
6
next,
days? For 6 days?
6 days. If somebody didn't bring something and throw across the fence and give us, we didn't have anything to eat because they wouldn't let us eat in Birmingham jails. And the next day I didn't have enough. After I got out of jail, I went back down there. And Bull Connor, he was there. He recognized me. Asked, there go Mamie. Put the water hose on. That water hose was so powerful it would have knocked you down. And put the water hose on her. And we started to run, and I ran to this building. And they put the water hose on me. And Bull Connor said, spread them niggas with this water so they won't have to take a bath. He was a tyrant. And everybody down there knew what kind of man he was. He kept stuff going. And it's a whole lot of stuff people don't know. You couldn't do anything with the police officers because they was police officers, lawyers, and judges in the daytime. They was Klansmen at night. It was Klansmen at night, and you couldn't do anything with them. And today, since I've been living here, my children, they grown, all of them are grown, 50 and over. They can't, if they go in the store, they have to put their stuff in a bag. my youngest daughter, she went in the store, and I was in there with her. She was walking out, holding the milk in her hand. I said, where in the hell is you going? And she, oh, Mama, what? I said, go back and tell that man to put your milk in a bag. And the man said, who's that lady talking to? I said, that's my daughter. I'm telling her to go get her stuff in the bag. You don't know what's going on. She could have went out and they could say she stole it. You know,
what you're talking about is the trauma behind all the stuff that took place that we haven't received help for. Right. And they just think like everything's just going on like it didn't exist or didn't matter. Slavery, all the stuff that happened yesterday has traumatized us as black people today, and that's why you have ghettos and hoods and we're not able to rise above it. And so we really need to deal with that because the mental health, I mean, I hear young people when they tell me I'm going to get therapy, and I always say I'm glad because we have this stigma that you don't do therapy, and some of us need therapy. It's like being raped and constantly seeing your rapist day after day after day. Mentally, that breaks you down. And so when you talk about that, what happened yesterday is impacting how you raise and deal with your children today. Because you fear for what they went through.
That's like I was telling
Definitely.
him, now I feel kind of small because I was speaking to him. And I said that I'm probably one of the few people I know that have actually seen a colored water fountain in a colored bathroom. Till I met you all. Okay, that's I mean, I was born in the 50s, and my grandmother my family's from Arkansas, so my grandmother would take us to Arkansas, her home, during the summers and whatever. So, and you'll know what I'm talking about in a minute. We would take the train from Chicago to St. Louis. But when we got to St. Louis, we had to get off the train and get on the colored car. Mm-hmm. And then a little ways later, here comes the conductor and say, food car open. Mm-hmm. Well, white folks went to the food car. Black folks had a shoebox on.
Yes, shoebox. That's right. Shoebox.
But my memory of that was our car smelled better than the dining car. We had fried chicken, pound cake,
Kool-Aid in a mason jar.
Absolutely. We got ours. We sat there and we ate, but I didn't know the significance of that, the fact that we weren't allowed to go.
Right. You couldn't go.
Right. And then I think I told him that I can still remember being in Tulsa, going to a segregated movie theater. I paid a nickel, saw a triple feature, which you can't see that no more.
Not for a nickel.
Lone Ranger, Cisco Kid.
$15 tomorrow. We're going to see a double feature.
Mine's is $20 for a double feature.
And some other Western that I don't even remember. But I remember movies. Cisco Kid, what was it?
Their movies.
Right. And then we paid the nickel. We had to go around the side and up to the balcony. Right. And I wasn't even in school then, and I still indelibly burned in my mind that these things happened because I was born in 56. And this had to be maybe 60, 61, maybe.
Oh, definitely.
But those things are still in my mind, and I can still never forget it.
Do you think it hurt us more than it helped us? I'm curious. Yeah, I'm curious because I always hear not Sidney Poitier. It was Harry Belafonte says King told him that he felt like he was sending his people into a burning building, and I think about that sometime when it comes to you being in that with the box lunch, and we fought so hard to get to the car. And now the car isn't as carte blanche as it was in the box lunch. So I'm wondering, did it hurt us more than it helped us?
It helped us because we ate good food.
But did it help us economically?
Economically, it stopped. I had a minister say, I hate Dr. King. I said, why you say that? He said, because when he got all that integration, we lost all of our community stores and we had to walk miles to get, and I understand that. But you have to change. As we were changing, they were trying to keep their neck,
Put on your neck.
that's what I'm trying to say.
Well, see,
We have to realize that they were fighting back also.
Well, here's the one thing that I found as I started to study it, is that what happened to us was, at first they didn't want to do business with us at all. Okay, so out of necessity, just like colleges, we had to create HBCUs.
Right.
We had to create our own businesses, like in Tulsa and all these other places, and they were thriving businesses. What happened was that white people found out the power of the black dollar.
Yes.
And decided,
They wanted.
we want that money. We're not going to treat you any better. And we're going to eliminate all these black businesses. Then you have to come and spend your money in our store.
So we spend $2 trillion a year. Dollar circulates for 6 hours in our community. What does that say about us? That's what I'm asking, Ms. Ruby and Ms. Mamie. How did it help us? I think it hurt us more than it
Well,
helped us.
systemically, though, you have to think about
I'm saying
it.
from an economic perspective.
But even then, it's a systemic thing, because our money doesn't stay in our community
6 hours.
because we don't own it.
Right.
Chinese,
You know,
30 days.
Well, think about it. By the time you get your paycheck, the average guy, you got to pay his light bill, got to pay his rent. He don't own the building that he's living in, so that money's going to a different rate. The light company's going to take money. The grocery stores we don't own. So that's why your money systematically leaves your community. You know, and from a systemic point of view, it's designed that way so that, for example, you start a business on the west. You want a store, grocery store on the west side, right? And let's just pick one, Korea, of a different nationality. You go in the store, you go in the bank and say, got this great idea, I want to start this business. Okay, Andrew, you can start your business. Here's your loan, 20% interest. The Korean guy walks in the store, in the bank, I want to start a business right next door to Andrew. Okay, I'm going to give you a loan at 2% interest.
There you go.
Okay, so now you're forced to charge higher prices in order to meet
Yes.
that bank note. This guy over here is undercutting your prices. Okay? We, in the black community, will say, I'm not going to shop at Andrew's store because it's the price.
Yes.
I'm going to take my money over to the Korean guy.
Yes.
Okay? But then after about 6 months, you're out of business because nobody's shopping in your store. You're bankrupt and you're gone.
So I go back again. How did this help us,
prices,
man?
he's gonna bring the prices back up to the same thing you were charging anyway.
I get all that.
So those are the systemic things that we have to fight against. Where it comes down to it, we have to start to own our own banks, because that's where the key is. Because if the banker is determining whether you're going to start this business.
Mm-hmm.
Taliban Films wants to start his business. Mike Childress wants to start my film business, but you're paying 30 cents on the dollar. Mike's paying a nickel on every dollar. You have to fight harder to get sponsors and producers and all. You have to get, like you say, you might have to prostitute yourself out in order to get your word out. And I don't have to work that hard because I'm only paying a nickel on the dollar. You know, I can meet the bank's requirements, make a profit, tell the story in my own words, not using any of these guys. You know, I go and hire, light-skinned brothers that, could be, whatever, okay? And say, this is the way black people work. But the actual story is not being told because they're running you out. They're making it very difficult for you to tell the story accurately because they don't want that story to be told that way. So that's why when I say systematically, systemic piece of it that we really have to start to look at. You know, just like redlining in areas.
Real estate, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, in certain areas we couldn't buy it.
Right.
When I moved to Maywood, 3 black families on my block. 3. Within 6 months,
It was gone.
there was 3 white families left on the
Yeah.
block.
They were moving
Within
on.
6 months. Okay. And the price we paid for our house when we moved in was higher than the property value was 6 months later. White folks started moving out. If my father had turned around and tried to sell that house a year later, he would have sold it at a loss. These are things that lie underneath the surface when they start talking about systematic racism. These are the things that I see that we have to dismantle, or at least call it out when we see it. And that fight is a whole different story, because it's these young brothers that's gonna have to deal with it. Because at some point, you're gonna want to go buy a car.
Yeah.
Okay, why should you pay 25% interest on your car when another guy's paying 3%, and you got a better credit rating? Okay, why should you have to be forced to buy a house at 20% interest or 10%? Now you got to struggle, work 2 jobs, kids got to work 2 jobs, everybody in the house got to work jobs to pay the house note, when your next door neighbor don't have to do that. You know, those are the things that
Systemic racism.
systemic racism. This is the things that we
Built
have to
in.
be aware of and point them out when you see them.
And start early getting ready for it.
But
Put
from
your
the-
money in the bank.
But from the beginning, the cards have been stacked against us.
Oh,
I mean, and when I say stacked against us, they've been stacked against us. No matter what area you discuss, what level you discuss, it's always the same thing. They always come back to the same thing. They own everything. They control everything, right? So when it gets to the point of like when mom and them was back in the days, when things were happening to them, who could they go and tell when they owned everything? You see what I'm saying? Everything belongs to them. And to this day, it's still the same way, but it's a little bit, just a small tad different. And like the question that you had about the segregation, did that help us? The civil rights, did that help us? In a sense, it did, and in a sense, it didn't, because all of our businesses that we own, that you just discussed, we lost all of those things. We lost all. I look at it like this: in order to get what we got, we had to give up something, and we gave up what we owned. Okay, and that put us back down on the ground. That put us back up under them when we had our own banks. We had our own J.C. Penney's. You see what I'm saying? We had our own Woolworths. We had our own everything. But when we had to do this to try to better ourselves because of the fact that Jim Crow laws were they were so powerful that a person couldn't even, you would go to jail for just being in being in a pool hall with a white girl was in the pool hall. It was so many Jim Crow laws out there, you couldn't even believe what they were saying. You know what I'm saying? The different things that all of this stuff, the deck has been stacked against us from the beginning. And the only way to change that is everybody have to get together and be on one accord. We can't be like 10 of us on this side saying we rolling like this. The other 10 say we gonna stay like we are. Everybody gotta be on the same accord, and everybody gotta fight for the same cause. And that's exactly what happened before. When the children won back in during the Children Crusade, that can happen again, but you gotta have another what you're going after. You gotta go after something more. You can't just go after civil rights now. You gotta go after your life and your children's lives. You know, building their future up. Like right now, if we turn our backs and we say no more and we're going to just sit here and just let it go like how it was back in the days, it's going to get back to like it was in 1963. That's not going to change, because right now they're doing it silently. Well, I wouldn't say it silently because I wouldn't say it silently. I would use the words like they're doing it where they think we don't know that they're doing it. Okay.
They thinking now.
I think they're out in the open with it.
But see, to
January
me,
6th, I saw a Confederate flag at the Capitol building. At the same time, they was taking down
Statues.
But see, in certain circumstances, they're out in the open with it. In certain circumstances, they're not. You still have white people out here that will smile in your face and spit in your food. Okay? And see, we do this to ourselves. Instead of staying at home, cooking our food, setting up kitchen tables for our families to eat, and we eat together as a family, and we discuss issues of today, yesterday, and of the future. We don't do that no more. We run to McDonald's. We go out here and we give these people all our money. You see what I'm saying? We give them our money. We're giving them our power. Our money is power. No matter if you look at it or not, our money is power. It's called black buying power. We have the power to shut this country down.
Yes, we do.
Okay? But guess what? We have the people that's in here, not saying that's in this particular room, that don't agree with what we're talking about. They want it to stay the same way it is and the same way it has been. That's the reason why things are going like it is. If we all got together, we can make a change.
Well, here's what I like to call it. What you call it is, I call it the stacked deck theory. We know the deck is stacked. Okay? You have to be aware of that. How you crack the wrapper off the deck and deal the cards properly comes from Andrew and Ken and the ladies in this room by telling their story and making sure that our children understand what's going on. If we don't teach the youth of the world what we've gone through and what the history of this country is and what to look out for, I say that's shame on us. Because we can't expect them to know what happened 50, 60, 70 years ago. And now if I give you that information and I tap you on with that knowledge and you reject that knowledge, well then, that's kind of them, that's on them. But if we don't ever have these conversations and put it out there for our kids, our grandkids to understand, put it on tape, put it on film, put it on the screen, and let the world see, let our children see what has happened to your fathers, to your mothers. It's going to be a loss. It's going to be lost at some point because we're not going to be around forever.
Right.
So that's why we're depending on the story being told and being told properly, so that I think I was telling this gentleman here, I was part of the Black Panther Party's breakfast program.
Never hear about it. They don't
Fred
talk about it.
Hampton's mother.
Not at all.
My first job was a paper boy, and I delivered papers to Fred Hampton's house. And they made sure that I went to the breakfast program in the mornings, because you gotta have a full stomach to learn.
That's right.
And when I got through delivering papers, she told me, Mama Hampton said, make sure that I'm your last spot that you deliver a paper to. When I got through, I put the paper, she fed me before I went home. I ate when I went home too, because I was but she made sure she was going to feed me. And I used to sit there and listen to Fred Hampton, Mark Clark, Bobby Rush, all those guys were sitting there talking about issues that was affecting us. I'm 8, 9 years old, but I'm still listening while I'm eating, and I'm understanding what's going on. That affected me. Everything builds on everything. So I'm looking at them, so I'm not understanding what the media is talking about. They're street gangs, they're thugs, we gotta wipe them out. I see brothers out here feeding the neighborhoods. So what they were telling me, what I'm seeing on the news and that kind of thing didn't make any difference to me, because the media will
Lie.
Right. That's why the Kens and Andrews of the world, what they do is so important for future generations to get it right. You know, that's why, like you said, we have to support that because, you know, if that story doesn't get told, then we're waiting on somebody else. You know,
To tell it their way.
right? Somebody will come up with a story or a movie and make millions of dollars and be completely inaccurate about the story that they telling. You know, in the meantime, Andrew's like, this story ain't even half right. You know, Ken saying, what is this? This don't, you know, you're saying, what is this? This is not right. This is not how my father was. You know, this is not how my mother is. You know, you got some other lady coming on Oprah saying she's your mother.
Right.
You know, that's the kind of nonsense that we have to fight against.
Yes.
And that's why what they do is so important. The fact that we're in this room today at this point in time means a lot.
Oh yeah.
Listening to the actual story, you know what your mother went through.
Yes.
Okay, you know what your father went through. You know what your parents went through. You know, and nobody can change that no matter what. Until which time, as long as the story is never told though, these brothers here will never get the benefit.
Y'all gotta excuse me, I'm sorry. I know Ken been up for 2 days with me. And I'm not lying, he been up for 2 days.
I know.
I don't want to cut us short because I love this. I really do.
Yeah, I gotta get out.
I know we on Facebook Live. It's good to see y'all. But I wanted to share really quick. I want to say thank you guys for coming out. Tomorrow is going to be awesome. To the people out there, if you can make it, 301 Rice Lake Square. We're going to be a Studio Movie Grill in Wheaton, Illinois. And we're going to be sharing history. We're going to be teaching our children and growing this thing. More than that, I'm going to be giving away prizes. I got a DJ. We're donating 10% of our proceeds to a nonprofit organization that helps the homeless and another one that feeds the community. And really quick, I just want to thank all you brothers for coming here tonight. Oh, and Ken Sagoes' book. Come buy his book. Come get his t-shirts tomorrow. Make sure y'all come out and support this brother because this is going to lead to the feature film. Right now it's a short, but it's going to lead to the feature film and some other projects. And come out and meet and greet with him personally. Give Mr. Nightmare on Elm Street a hug. It's going to be awesome. He's going to need it. And we're gonna cut it short because these brothers, show them, these wonderful brothers are gonna be there tomorrow, and we're gonna go and go to sleep.
Yes.
So we
Get
can
some rest.
we get up tomorrow, and
They going out.
oh, they going out.
Y'all going out.
They gonna kick it in downtown Chicago somewhere.
News to me, right?
Y'all better go to sleep.
Kennedy said he getting one of y'all pregnant.
That's what we're doing.
Did they hear me on that? I said Kennedy said he getting one of y'all pregnant. He gonna bring the baby home to the daddy.
No, Lord.
No, but and also I want to thank Roger and Fred for coming out tonight, and God bless you guys, and I'll see them tomorrow as well at the premiere, and we're gonna make it happen. So we're gonna shut this thing down. I gotta clean up in here.
Yes, and go to sleep.
All right.
Yes.
Before
Signing out,
before
y'all.
y'all go, let me take a quick picture with everybody in the room.
Yes.
Just a quick picture.
Thank y'all for tuning in. KKE.